While searching for Gollum in the Anduin Valley, you receive word that a group of trolls have come to the Carrock. Hello, and welcome back to the Line Unbroken, my series in which I'm playing through each of the scenarios in the Lord of the Rings living card game in turn, using only cards which were available at the time of the release, in imitation of the ever-popular Progression series. Here we are for the second scenario of the Shadows of Mirkwood cycle, Conflict at the Carrock. So, set up at Carrock to the staging area, it is already there. The 4 unique trolls and sacked cards have been removed from the encounter deck. Shuffle 1 sacked card per player back into the encounter deck. So, there we go. 2 sacks shuffled back in. The other 2 are irrelevant. They will not be featuring in this game. Now I can flip this over. As this area is under the watch of the Beornings, you seek out their leader, Grimbeorn the Old, and discover he has already set out in a rage. You follow, hoping to find him before he confronts the trolls. And Control N. Draw the extra card over here. Now, this hand. This is a pretty terrible hand, to be honest. I mean, my initial hand was not great, so I mulliganed it and got this, which is even worse. I suppose, I have a Mine of the Iron Hills, so I'm ready to remove sacks. The Rivendell Minstrel is kind of superfluous because I already have 2 Songs of Wisdom in my hand. Daughter of the Nimrodel might be useful. But as it is, I will play nothing. On this side, however, round 1, Steward of Gondor, this is good. Carrock is immune to player card effects, so the Snowball Scout would not be helpful. Dunedain Warning. I probably want to put that somewhere, but still not sure whether I want to beef up Aragorn or Gloin or possibly Frodo. So I'm just going to hold on to that. For the moment, it's only really relevant when the trolls turn up. Actually, no, I think if I want a strong defender, then Aragorn is the obvious choice, so I will just put that on him. Let's just check further. Neatly laid out, yes. Alright, so questing. Let's go with Frodo, Eowyn, Aragorn, spending a resource. Actually, no, I won't spend a resource to ready. And actually, yes, I will, just in case. Then Gloin, so that's 2, 4, 6, 10 willpower. That is more than I want to be sending, so let's just take some of this back. Let's not send Aragorn after all. There's 2 threat in the staging area, because of course the general approach to this quest is to sort of hang around on stage 1 where nothing really bad is happening. To delay advancing to stage 2 when the trolls will turn up until you're ready to deal with them. So I think actually I may go for only 6, and I reveal Goblin Sniper and Gladden Fields. So that is a total of 7 threat in the staging area. I think I I only really need one Citadel plate. I'm unlikely to afford the second one, so I will discard Citadel plate to Eowyn. Oh, that's the point. Yes, actually, I will pay one law resource when the Gladden Fields is revealed for Strider's Path, and immediately travel to it. I don't think I actually managed to use this card in the Hunt for Golem playthrough, and it can be quite useful in situations such as this. So this means that that 3 threat is not in the staging area. So I have 7 willpower against 4 threat and make exactly 3 progress, immediately exploring the Gladden Fields, which means I will not have to deal with that forced effect. They are added to the victory display. But I put no progress on the actual quest. Now we can move on to the encounter phase. There are no other enemies in the staging area, so deck 2 can immediately engage the Goblin Sniper. It gets a shadow card. At this point, I can safely exhaust Beravor to draw cards for deck 1. This is still not very good. And I will have... Ooh, actually... It would be a bit of a risk to take it undefended, but I don't think the shadow effects are too bad, so I'm going to take it undefended. Okay. So the shadow effect is this Wolf Rider, which immediately attacks. And I have to remember that I haven't actually resolved the sniper's attack yet. So I think at this point I will have Line defend. There's no shadow effect, so he has 1 defense and therefore takes 1 damage. And then this attack I have to finish resolving, having resolved its shadow effect. I took it undefended, so it's 2 damage, which I will also put on Gloin, which means since he's taken 3 damage, he gains 3 resources. And now Aragorn will attack for 3 and kill the Wolf Rider, meaning it doesn't have a chance to get added to the top of the encounter deck. And Legolas will kill the Goblin Sniper. And I will elect not to trigger his response, because I don't really want more progress on the quest at this point. And so that will be the end of the round. Control N. This deck is now first player. Resources to Gondor straight away. I now have enough resources to get Grimbeorn on my side, and I have nothing really to spend those leadership resources on, so that will remain. I will put the Horn of Gondor onto Beravor. Under the circumstances, I'm going to trigger Beravor on this deck again. Okay, I'll pay 1 for Helmarth Riversong. Pay 1 for a Song of Wisdom on Frodo. Of course, I have no Burning Brand to go with it at the moment, but this will allow him to potentially play Strider's Path. Okay, so questing, I will send Eowyn, Aragorn, using the resource to ready. Actually, yes. So that's a total of 6. Once again. And we reveal the East Bite. And the River Langflood. The River Langflood is frankly horrible. This card has caused me great problems when playing the Nightmare version of this quest. Because of course there are even more trolls in that one. But it's potentially pretty bad even here, except on stage 1 it's fairly harmless. So that is a total of 5 threat in the staging area, meaning I put 1 progress on the quest. I have no choice but to travel to the East Bite, but I don't really mind because it serves as a nice buffer. And there are no enemies in play. I will exhaust Hanumarth Riversong to look at the top card of the encounter deck, which is a Muckadder. Okay, 1 threat, and it's an enemy, which may be relevant. Nothing else to do. Control N once more. Okay. Well, at this point I'm going to spend 3 lore resources for a Daughter of the Nimrodel, so that I can heal up Gloin. And I think that will be it over here. Trigger Steward. I'll have Berador trigger on this side this time. Because having drawn this Unexpected Courage, I really want a Calabrian Stone so that I can actually play it. But no sign of it thus far. So I suppose I'll also play nothing on this side. Now here I have this location to get through, and I don't want to get stuck with this, so I can use Strider's Path to muck about with the location and stuff, but I'll quest with Aragorn. I know that the first card is only 1 threat, so it's going to be at least 5 threat. So I'm questing Aragorn, Eowyn, Gloin, Frodo, Hanumarth. So that's 11 willpower. No, actually, no, sorry, I just realized I do actually want to spend 1 leadership resource for a snowball scout. Well, I would make 1 blinds actually. and put 1 progress on the River Langflood. And actually, I suppose this is retconning, I know, but it's just occurring to me that there's no real reason not to do these things. And it doesn't in any way affect my decision on how to quest. So I will send this 11 willpower versus 5, 6 threat in the staging area, as it turns out. 2 Marcadas, so 6 threat in the staging area, 5 progress. Could discard a card to Eowyn, but I don't really need to. So, at this point, I will exhaust the Daughter of the Nimrodel to heal 2 damage from Gloin. And right, yes. 1 Marcada will come down here, and the other one will come down here. So Aragorn will defend this one across the table, and hopefully the shadow is okay. Defending character gets -1 defense, but because of the Dunedain warning, he has 3, which is reduced to 2, so the forced effect will not come into play. Well, that means that there were 3 Marcadas all stacked up together consecutively in the deck, which is interesting. And now the Snowborn Scout will defend this one. I don't care about the forced effect because he's going to die regardless. And now Legolas will attack. Because he has the Dunedain mark, he does 4 attack, 4 damage. The Marcada is killed, and this time I will trigger Legolas' response to put 2 progress. Oh, character left play, so Beravor gains a resource from the Horn of Gondor. And now, Control N. This deck is first player right now. Club in Stone. Unexpected Courage. I think we'll actually go on Legolas. To allow him more attacks with his increased attack, and the progress may be relevant in the future. Okay, I will also trigger Beravor over here. And there we go, a second Dunedain mark. And I'll also spend 3 for this Galadriel's Greeting to drop my threat by 6. Now, I don't think I want to hang around too much longer. So let's see, I'll spend 1 resource to put the Song of Wisdom onto Aragorn, so he can spend those resources on the miners if relevant. Now, a bit more willpower might come in handy. Okay, yeah, I'm going to spend 3 lore resources. I just can't decide whether I want a Rivendell Minstrel, who would dig out my 1 remaining song, or a Longbeard Map Maker, of course, with expenditure of additional resources, could give me more willpower. But I think I'll take the Minstrel. I will at this point look at all cards in my deck as soon as they load. Here we are. And pour a Song of Wisdom into my hand. And then shuffle my deck. But I'll leave that song for the moment. Now, questing. 4, 6. Eight. Don't want to send any more. 10. 10 versus 4 threat in the staging area. So at the moment I would clear the quest with this. So actually I'll take back Gloin. It's unlikely that I'll reveal 2 treacheries for no threat, but I want to be sure. Another River Langflood. Under the circumstances, I am going to play Strider's Path to immediately travel there. I would rather have the River Langfloods cleared out of the staging area before the trolls turn up. So I was planning to travel to this one so I could clear it next round when I may well be wanting to advance the quest. And, well, you know, obviously with the second one, that plan would be sort of mess up. So, second card of staging, Gladden Fields. Also, of course, a prime target for Strider's Path, but I already used it. And on the plus side, the Gladden Fields won't be so much of a problem. It's 3 threat, but it doesn't increase based on trolls to potentially 6. So it's 2, 4, 7 threat. Oh. Underquested somewhat. It's 1 progress. I think I will. Oh. I'll discard a Rivendell Minstrel to give Eowyn +1 willpower. And over here, I'll discard a Mine of the Iron Hills, actually, for another +1 willpower, so that explores that. Now, I will travel to the second River Langflood. Actually, yes I will. And then play Strength of Will, Exhausting Frodo, to place 2 more progress on it, and clear it out. Combat. I will, at this point, heal the remaining damage from Gloin. Aragorn will defend. There's no shadow effect. Legolas can kill the Muckadder and place 2 progress on the quest. I will scry the top card of the encounter deck using Hennemarth. Misty Mountain Goblins. Alright. Control N. Right. Now, yes. Okay, since I think I want to advance this round. Oh, of course, in retrospect, I should have put the Horn of Gondor onto Frodo, because it still would have given me more lore resources, since he had a Song of Wisdom. So that's a mistake on my part. Okay, let's pay 2 for unexpected courage. On Aragorn. And that will have to be it. Over here, let's pay 2 for unexpected courage on Beravor. And then let's exhaust her to draw a couple more cards over here. That is quite a nice draw. I will spend these 4 tactics resources to put Citadel Plate onto Gloin. So he now has a total of 8 hit points to gain extra resources with. And now for questing. Okay, there's currently 5 threat in the staging area, and I know that the first card is 2. I need 3 progress if I want to advance. 4, 6, 8. I reveal the Misty Mountain Goblins and bee pastures. Excellent. Alright, so 12 willpower versus 8 threat. So I make 4 progress. And after placing the 7th progress token on Grimbjorn's quest, Carrock becomes the active location. I'm not sure, discard the previous active location from play, I'm not sure how that would actually ever come up. Because if you couldn't place the 7th progress on this quest if there was an active location, you would have to clear it first. Regardless. The Carrock now becomes the active location, and it buffs up the Troll's attack and defense. I also, of course, advance to the next quest stage. You approach the Carrock, and find that the Trolls have been watching you from the top of the Rocky River landmark. Let's just shift these over. And, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. As you approach, the Trolls close in and attack. And I have to put all these unique Trolls into the staging area. I only need 1 progress, and to kill all the Trolls. Yes. Bee pastures would have been more helpful if I hadn't just advanced the quest, because of course now the Carrock is there, I can't travel to them. But, okay, let's see. Right. So Louis, I have no resources to pay for that feint. So So I think I would rather avoid the threat raise. Another +1 attack. Yes. That works. +1 defense, and of course they all have +1 attack and defense from the Carrock. So let's see, if I were to engage Rupert, and I can sneak attack Gandalf. 7, 12. Actually, I could bring 14 attack to bear, which would be enough to kill him. So, deck 2 will optionally engage Rupert. And I think I'll have to leave all 3 of the others up there. Enemarth will exhaust to allow me to scry the top card of the encounter deck. It is a Frightened Beast, which has no shadow effect, and I'm glad that it won't be coming out during staging, because I have no creature allies to discard, and that threat raise can be horrible. So, let us now deal that. Pay 1 for a sneak attack Gandalf. For his ability, I could deal 4 damage to one of the other trolls, making it easier pickings in a subsequent round. I could lower my threat even further, or I could draw more cards. I think I want more cards. And, of course, if I hit Control D, it draws them for the wrong deck. Just forget that you saw those. Another D&D warning, that will be useful. So, I will take this attack undefended. There is no shadow effect, as I knew there would not be. And I'll place all 4 damage on Gloin, getting him another 4 resources. And he survives thanks to the Citadel Plate. I will exhaust the Doctor of Nimrodel to heal 2 of those damage off him once again, and then attack back for... Oh, I've been doing my willpower wrong, because Aragorn has an extra 2 from Calabrian Stone. Never mind. 3, 5, 10, 14. He has 3 defense because of the Carrock, but 14 attack is still enough to kill him. And, of course, his forced effect, after he attacks, shuffle all copies of the sacked card from the discard pile back into the encounter deck. I haven't seen any copies of the sacked card, so this is irrelevant. He is dead. At the end of the phase, Gandalf returns to my hand. Bearable gains a resource. And Control N. Resolve. So I'll exhaust Steward of Gondor to get a couple more resources. I want to save some of these resources for the Grimbeorn. In fact, 8 of these resources to be precise. I'll put this Doomsday Warning on Aragorn, so he now has 4 defense. I can't afford the Gondorian Spearman. I'm probably going to spend that tactics resource on a feint. So I think that will be it. And over here, well, okay, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for Gandalf. I can draw cards, drop my threat, or do damage. In circumstances, perhaps I should drop my threat just to be definitely safe from the trolls. Oh, I completely spaced on these Misty Mountain goblins being in the staging area. They should have come down and attacked me last round. Alright, let's... They would have been the first attack, so they would have had... Never mind the shadow cards, let's just sort this out now. I would have taken the attack undefended. Defending characters do not count as defense, which obviously is irrelevant when the attack is undefended, and I would have taken it as threat with Frodo. This being the case, I'll definitely lower my threat with Gandalf. And that concludes my planning. Right. So, there is how much threat in the staging area? 4, 6, 8, 10. Not too bad. I need 6 progress to clear the Carrock. So, 4, 6, 7, 9. 13. Um, 17. 17 going to be enough? Well, I mean, that's barely enough as it is. I can potentially boost this up to 19 by discarding to Eowyn, of course. Or I could just send Frodo. 19. Alright. And we reveal Oakwood Grove. Potentially nice, but not that relevant given the abundance of leadership resources I have. And the banks of the Anduin. So that's an extra 3 threat. I make exactly 6 progress. The Carrock is explored, and I will travel to the Bee Pastures. Response: after you travel to Bee Pastures, search the encounter deck and discard powerful Grim Beyond the Old and add him to the staging area. Then shuffle the encounter deck. So, look at all cards. Where is he? Grim Beyond the Old. We'll shuffle the encounter deck. Now, Grim Beyond the Old, who does not exhaust to defend against troll enemies. If he has 8 or more resource tokens on him, he joins the first player as an ally. Spend 1 leadership resource to place that resource on Grim Beyond the Old. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He joins first player, which is step 2, as an ally. I'll just take the resources off him. I know that he's here now. This, of course, is why the Oakwood Grove can be useful if you don't have loads of leadership resources. You can just spend everyone's. But I did have loads of leadership resources. Let's just put my locations together. Now, how much attack do I have? 3, 5, 10, 14. So, I'll optionally engage Louis. I'll exhaust the Doctor of Memory Delta, heal up Gloin at this point. Yeah, I only need 12 attack. So, yes, at this point, it might actually be easier if I could engage the trolls faster, but never mind. We'll do that. Shadow cards. I will spend 1 tactics resource to play a feint on Louis. So his shadow card does not have an effect, he does not attack at all, and I don't have to deal with that forced effect. Of course, it is worth bearing in mind, of course, that all these forced effects are while they're engaged with the player, all troll enemies get them, which means all of these, and if I draw just regular hill trolls out of the encounter deck, they would all be raising my threat by 3 each time they attacked. Which is why you want to kill this guy quickly. And over here, Aragorn will defend Sentinel. I have to remove a total of 2 progress from the quest, which has no progress on it. So, now Legolas will attack over here, and ready with unexpected courage, I will trigger his response to put 2 progress on the bee pastures, exploring them. Aragorn, Gloin, Legolas, and Grimbeorn swing for a total of 14 to kill Louis. I will trigger Legolas again. I now have the requisite progress on here, and I just need to finish off the last 2 trolls. I will exhaust Beravor to draw 2 cards with which deck? Let's go with this one. Okay. And Control N. Out here, Gandalf leaves play at the end of the round. Beravor gains a resource from Horn of Gondor. Now, it is worth mentioning that unlike some objective allies, Grimbeorn doesn't move, because it doesn't say... Oh, well, I suppose actually you could debate the point, because you put the 8 resources on him, and it does say if Grimbeorn the Old has 8 or more resources or tokens on him, he joins the first player as an ally. And since that's passive text, actually, I think that should continue applying. So technically, he still has 8 resources on him, so he joins the first player as an ally, and the first player has now changed. It's imprecise phrasing, but I do actually think that applies, because it doesn't just happen. Like, if it was a response... Yeah, if it was response, if Grimbeorn has 8 or more resource tokens on him, the first player takes control of him as an ally, then you could trigger that once. Or it would be a response after the 8th resource token is placed on him. Then he would stay where he was, but actually I think with the way it's phrased he should move. So he's now over here. Right, I'm going to use Bearable on this side this time. Another Gandalf, how wonderful. I'm going to take those resources off again, because they're just going to confuse me. I'll keep wanting to spend them. Right, under the circumstances, let's see, hang on. How much? Of course. Stuart will be down, so I'll need a total of 13 attack. How much can I potentially get for 8 with Gandalf? 9, 10, 12, 13. It's exactly enough, and I can just save the leadership resources for Grim Resolve. On this side, of course, 5, 7, 10. I'll actually be a little short. But that works actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resources for Gandalf. And I will place 4 damage onto Morris for his ability. And deck 2 will play nothing. Now for questing, I will send everyone. 2, 4, 8, 10, 11, 15, 16, 18, 22, 24, 25, and then spend 5 leadership resources for Grim Resolve to ready all character cards in play. Everyone is ready, and I am questing for 25 against the staging area of 5, 6, 8, 10. Let's go. Oakwood Grove and Goblin Sniper. Alright. So that's another 4. I make 11 progress on the quest. And, just for the fun of it, I'll discard Protector of Lorien and Steward of Gondor to Éowyn to make 2 more progress. Pointlessly travel to the banks of the Anduin. In the encounter phase, Deck 1 will optionally engage Stuart, and Deck 2 will optionally engage Morris. Deal out these shadow cards. Grimbeorn will defend against Stuart. He does not exhaust to defend against trolls. Because Morris is engaged with a player, Stuart has +1 attack. So he's attacking for 5 and does 2 damage to Grimbeorn. Over here, Aragorn will defend. There's no shadow effect. 5 attack versus 3 defense. Once again, 2 damage, which I can immediately heal up just to improve my score. Now, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 13 attack, which he currently has 3 defense because he's engaged with a player, and 10 hit points for a total of 13. He's dead. 3, 5, 10 versus now only 2 defense, means I do 8 damage, taking him up to 12, and he only has 10 hit points. He is dead, and I can put 2 progress on the quest. So now there are no troll enemies in play. I have well over the 1 progress that is required. There are no more quest cards. As an oddity in this quest card doesn't actually say if the players defeat this stage they have won the game, but there are no more quest cards, so clearly they have. Because in the Nightmare version there is a 3rd quest card, but not here. This is regular play, there are only the 2 quest cards. So that was easier than I was expecting, to be honest. I mean, I suppose I was somewhat prepared for it. What was my score? 116. I mean, I have actually found that although the accepted wisdom on this is to hang around on stage 1, it's not always necessary in my experience. Just as it's not always necessary to start below 30 threat for Journey Down the Anduin. I have played games against this quest where I've gone through stage 1 pretty quickly and still managed. Of course, if you go through it quickly, then you're more likely to be below the 34 threat that is the engagement cost of the trolls. The only difficulty then is that there are all the trolls in the staging area and you need to quest past them while you're picking them off one by one. The worst case scenario, obviously, is if you go through the quest quickly but end up at 34 or more threat and have to engage all the trolls at once. And certainly if that had happened to me, I might have had some issues. Some things in my decks never came into play. Of course, there's the long-bearded mapmaker there. Mines of the Iron Hills, I never saw any sacks, so they were irrelevant. Burning Brand, never drew it. That powerful defensive attachment that was going to defend me against the trolls. I just had to make do. Glad I got some use out of Strider's Path. Forest Snare, it's unlikely I would have used that even if I drew it, but there might have been a situation in which it would have been reasonable. Say for... which one is it? Louis, I think? Who makes trolls raise your threat. Yeah. Forest Snare would be good for him. That's probably what I had in mind. And then this deck... I think this deck basically did what it was supposed to. Which was, amass enough leadership resources to get Grimbjorn. Getting Grimbjorn on your side also is very helpful. Yeah, the encounter deck also didn't get some of the key stuff. Roasted slowly, obviously, is only relevant if you get sacks here. Sack. And of course the sacks can't be cancelled, but they're conditioned attachments which can then be removed, and you can cancel Roasted slowly. Because this is one of the worst shadow effects ever, to be honest, because defending character does not count its defense. I mean, you come back to a quest like this with a more modern deck, so you have like your Uber Defender, Baragond, with Gondorian Shield. He's defending for 6. So you think, it's fine, he can take this troll, no problem, and then this is the shadow effect. He doesn't count any of that defense, he takes 4 damage and is immediately killed. That's just horrible. But of course Burning Brand will solve that problem. And a Frightened Beast, of course, we saw one copy go as a shadow card. There are 3 copies of Sacked in here. Is that meant to be the case? Hang on. Yes, you remove 4 copies of the Sacked card. Specifically, not all copies. So there are in fact 5 copies of which you remove 4. Yes, of course there are the Hill Trolls, regular old Hill Trolls, which are much more dangerous than the unique Trolls. The fact which always seemed kind of odd to me. The generic ones are more dangerous than the sort of boss ones. And the Frightened Beast, of course. The player raises his threat by the total threat of all cards in the staging area. I mean, if that came out... 2, 4, 6, 9. I mean, and this is at the end of the game. 9 threat in the staging area. This card... This is another one which has caused me problems when playing the Nightmare version of this quest, because there you're much more concerned with, trying to definitely keep your threat below 34, so you don't have to engage all the trolls at the same time. And if you suddenly raise your threat by 9, that's a big issue. Did I actually include any eagles in this deck? I did not. Bjorn is not a creature either. Yeah, because that's the thing, hurting because you can cancel a Frightened Beast by discarding a creature ally, which at this point, eagles are the only creature allies. Or of course you can just cancel it normally with a Test of Will, but I never drew Test of Will. So yes, there were some definite problems the encounter deck could have thrown at me, but didn't. But regardless, I think this worked out quite nicely. I was able to do a bit of troll slaying. Thank you for watching. I hope you will come back to see the next video, which will be Journey to Roscabel. Goodbye.